The year was 2010, December 17th in the Tunisian town of Sidi Bouzid. 26-year-old street vendor Mohamed Bouazizi, driven to despair by police harassment and the unjust seizure of his livelihood, set himself ablaze. This single act of defiance ignited a revolution that would sweep across nations.
الأمر لأوضاع يصبح معها الشباب الذين دعوا إلى التغيير والإصلاح أول المتضررين منها.
The Arab Spring, hailed as a people's revolution, was nothing more than a masterclass in regime change orchestrated by the United States of America. Where uprisings succeeded, puppet regimes emerged. Where they failed, civil wars consumed nations in fire and blood. Behind every coup, every rebellion, every so-called democratic uprising, the National Endowment for Democracy, USAID and Freedom House fund opposition groups, train agitators, and poison minds with the illusion of freedom. The rules-based order is a ruthless dictatorship designed to enslave the global south and keep nations shackled to the dollar and Western financial overlords. No nation is sovereign until nations break free from US imperialism. China leads the world in sovereignty, unmatched in political, economic, and military independence. Russia, Iran, North Korea, Cuba, Eritrea, Venezuela, Turkmenistan, and Belarus also stand resilient against foreign influence, with China at the forefront. Under the CPC, China defied the norms of Western hegemony. It transformed into an unassailable fortress of sovereignty, a nation so deeply self-reliant that even the mightiest adversary, the United States, cannot bend it to its will. Unlike other countries, China remains impervious to the US weapon of destabilization. The CPC's governance has fortified the country's political unity, economic independence, and cultural identity, rendering external interference futile. Today, China stands as a model of national self-determination. This is the story of the most sovereign nation on earth. Most European nations, once ruthless colonizers of the global south, now exist as vassals within the US empire. Washington dictates their wars, their economy, and even their energy security. The United States, once a mere extension of Europe, has become the ultimate imperial master, bending its former overlords to its will. After World War II, Europe became a US vassal. The Marshall Plan tied its economy to Washington, while NATO ensured military dependence. In 1956, when Britain and France invaded Egypt to seize the Suez Canal from Nasser, the US forced their withdrawal. The dollar hegemony locked Europe into the American-led finance, and the Iraq War in 2003 proved that European leaders obey Washington's war agenda. The destruction of Nord Stream in 2022 forced Europe into US energy reliance, crippling German industry. The Ukraine war cemented European submission as they funded a US proxy war at their own economic peril.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. You can beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway.
Europe, once an empire of empires, is now little more than Washington's geopolitical pawn. The United States, though it lords over Europe, still sees it as a precious older sister, tamed but never to be cast aside. The imperial bloodline must be preserved, for Europe remains a pillar of Western dominance. Its industries may be crippled, but it will always be sheltered under the American aegis. The global South, however, is afforded no such mercy. For them, the US empire reserves its most brutal and calculated destruction. Unlike Europe, which is subdued but respected, black and brown nations must be broken beyond repair, forever barred from rising to challenge the Western order. Their resources are stolen, their leaders overthrown. If one dares rise, be it Lumumba in Congo, Allende in Chile, or Sankara in Burkina Faso, the empire ensures they fall. Color revolutions, economic warfare, military coups, nothing is off the table. The goal is clear: no non-white nation must ever develop to rival a Western power. In Asia, since 1948, South Korea has been plagued by a series of dictators supported by the United States. In July 1948, Syngman Rhee, backed by the US, established the First Republic, which became increasingly autocratic until its collapse in 1960. The Second Republic was short-lived, overthrown by a military coup in 1961, leading to the Third Republic under Park Chung-hee, who implemented martial law and ruled until 1979. The Fourth Republic, also under Park, continued authoritarian rule until his assassination in 1979. The Fifth Republic, led by Chun Du-hwan, was ruled under martial law until the Gwangju Uprising in 1980. The Sixth Republic, established in 1987, transitioned from military dictatorship to democracy through both public resistance and political negotiation.
This is the cycle where the United States puts in a dictator, the Koreans overthrow the dictator, and the United States puts in another one. Yoon Suk-yeol was Washington's man in Seoul. Yoon Suk-yeol, who really didn't have experience, background, or even legitimacy, became the president of South Korea. He was prosecuting unions, he was prosecuting peace organizations, he was prosecuting workers, the media, any and everybody, civil society itself. He was trampling it underfoot. And the US was just continuing to praise him and saying, this man is the leader of a global pivot state that is leading, the fight of democracies against autocracies.
Since the end of World War II, Japan has remained under US occupation, with approximately 60,000 American military personnel stationed on its soil. Before China, Japan was considered the dominant economic power in Asia, and during the 1980s, many experts predicted that Japan would surpass the US economy by the early 21st century. However, in 1985, the United States, along with France, West Germany, the United Kingdom, and Japan, signed the agreement at the Plaza Hotel in New York to deliberately devalue the US dollar against the Japanese yen and the German Deutsche Mark. This currency manipulation triggered catastrophic effects, inflating asset prices, causing an unsustainable economic boom. Japan, unable to maintain competitiveness due to skyrocketing costs, watched its industries crumble. The subsequent collapse of its real estate and stock market bubble in the early 90s left Japan trapped in a decade-long economic stagnation. In 2012, Japan sought to regain its sovereignty by engaging in trilateral free trade agreement negotiations with China and South Korea to fortify regional economic ties and diminish dependence on the US dollar.
Korea has kicked off its first round of negotiations on a three-way free trade agreement with China and Japan. If the pact becomes a reality, it would create the world's third largest economic bloc.
What happened next were the unexplained deaths of Financial Services Minister Tadahiro Matsushita and Ambassador-designate to China Shinichi Nishimiya, occurring just 6 days apart.
Welcome to China.
Militarily, China stands unmatched in self-reliance. With a powerful nuclear arsenal, advanced missile technology, and a formidable blue water navy, it answers to no foreign military power. While US allies like Japan and NATO nations depend on Washington's protection, China stands alone, unyielding and self-sufficient in its defense. China's strict governance over media and information prevents external forces from shaping public opinion or destabilizing its government. Unlike Western-backed color revolutions that topple governments in weaker nations, the CPC ironclad control and anti-interference laws make any regime change attempt futile. Chinese industrial manufacturing capabilities reinforce its sovereignty. As the world's second-largest economy, it refuses to bow to the IMF, World Bank, or the US dollar. With the yuan's growing internationalization, China is dismantling the financial chains that bind other nations to Washington's control. Diplomatically, it stands apart, refusing foreign military bases, rejecting alignment with US geopolitical interests, and forging its own path with strategic partners like Russia, Iran, and the Global South. The US has overthrown governments, waged economic warfare, and imposed crippling sanctions to maintain global dominance. But against China, these tactics are powerless. China is beyond Washington's reach, immune to regime change, and too powerful to be controlled. Unlike nations shackled by the US-dominated financial system, China has built its own global economic network. The Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, and the Cross-Border Interbank Payment System, CIPS, ensure that China's economy remains independent, resilient, and untouchable by Western financial manipulation. Ultimately, China cannot be subjected to regime change because it has built an impenetrable shield against the West. By banning Western social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Gmail, it prevents the US from spying on its citizens and fueling dissent. Instead, China operates its own digital ecosystem, ensuring information sovereignty. Chinese independent Beidou satellite system, AI, and self-sufficient technological infrastructure make it immune to external sabotage. Under the disciplined leadership of the Communist Party, with a strong national identity and centralized governance, China remains the most sovereign nation on earth. No foreign power can manipulate public sentiment or destabilize its leadership, making US regime change impossible within its borders.
After Syria, now China. TIP has always been clear. The end goal? Independence. To liberate their homeland of East Turkestan from the Chinese occupiers.
No amount of Western propaganda can break the spirit of the Chinese people. China is building stronger ties with the Global South, creating a new era of cooperation based on mutual respect and shared prosperity. Together, these nations are shaping a more just and multipolar world where all can thrive in peace, free from neo-colonial manipulation and coercion.